ADHD, My Sister and Me, where sisters Nic and Kim chat about living with ADHD and neurodiversity and the challenges they face. They share the practices, techniques, and hacks that help them through life. This is not to be taken as professional or medical advice. It's just two sisters chewing the fat and trying to make the world a better place. Good morning.
Morning.
We're still working on our jingle. I was thinking ADHD, my sister and me. What do you think?
That reminds me of something.
Oh, have I copied it from somewhere?
You've copied something else. What is that?
Okay, we'll
Isn't
keep
it this
working on
morning?
it.
It's this
Oh,
morning, isn't it?
no, that's da, da, na, 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 isn't it?
Oh, all right.
Anyway, we'll keep
Yeah.
working on the jingle. If anyone has any suggestions, feel free to get in touch. We'll have to get an email, won't we? So that people can get in touch if they've got anything they'd like to share with us or any show suggestions or anything. Anyway, welcome. It's the 1st of February. Beautiful morning. The sun's shining here in Hockley. Is it shining with you, Kim?
It's a beautiful day in Cambridge, yeah.
And happy in bulk for anyone that celebrates that. It's the celebration of the goddess Bridget or Saint Bridget's Day in the Gaelic tradition, and it starts on the 1st of Feb till sunset on the 2nd, I think. And it's just all about it's marking the beginning of the end of winter. So, we can all see that spring, the little shoots are coming through, aren't they? The birds are singing, and it's bringing that energy of, fresh new energy and inspiration and creative forces. And it's celebrating the light and the daylight and warmth. And and we're mirroring that energy in us as well, aren't we? We're all feeling that spring energy, but we don't want to peak too soon. We need to take our time with it because we are still in winter. So, but yeah, so for anyone, and even if you don't celebrate it, it's just a nice to recognise the spring's coming, isn't it? And that we're getting that warmth and that new energy. So how are you feeling today, Kimberly?
I think I peaked too soon. I definitely peaked too soon. So I made this really long to-do list for things to do over January. And I've got a couple of things ticked off, but last weekend I decided to blitz Jack's room and completely change it around and redecorate it. And that wasn't even on the list. So I think that's how I tend to work. Maybe it's list avoidance. I don't know. Just do something else. But I worked solidly for like 24 hours and I really did myself in, and I'm feeling very tired this week. But that's how I roll. So yeah, but feeling
and the room's looking amazing, isn't it? And Jack's very happy with it, isn't he?
He's really happy. It was such a mess, and somehow he had ended up with all the crap in his room, and also he doesn't like to throw things away. So he had like a huge cardboard box that he'd used to, I don't think he even made anything out of it in the end. He just used it to hide from one of the tutors when they came round. And then he had in his room, and I just said, look, this one's got to go. He's already got another cardboard box that he'd made like a dog kennel out of, and he won't get rid of that. So he let me paint it the same color as the room so it blends in a bit more. But yeah, he's actually done really well with passing things on to charity this time, so it's beautiful. Love it. Yeah,
Amazing. Yeah, it's definitely the time for it, isn't it? Having to move around and
yeah, like you say, you don't want to do too much at this time of year, but sometimes you just can't help it. And I think, when you do struggle to get things done, you just have to do it when you have the energy.
yeah,
Otherwise
absolutely.
it might not get done at all. So
I'm all about embracing that energy when you have it. Yeah. Definitely. And doing certain things when you feel like doing them.
even if you're knackered afterwards, because you can rest when you're knackered then.
I mean, for you, literally, it's the day after Boxing Day, isn't it? The tree's down, the decks are down, and you're you're painting a cupboard or
Sorting, yeah, getting rid of stuff. That is, yeah, it is my most productive time of year, I think. January. And what, you know, lots of people don't enjoy January. I just love it. It's, you know, my birthday, our brother's birthday, and that sorty energy.
Yeah, I always feel lucky actually that we've got your birthdays in January, because it gives you always something to look forward to for us, isn't there, in January? Yeah,
And everyone's
lovely.
doing dry Jan. I'm having
We
a go.
can't.
Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, okay. I've been under the weather again. Jamie was poorly, and then I've got the same thing. And thankfully, it's not as bad as the awful bug I had over Christmas that floored me for a week. But I feel like, hold on a minute, it's only been a month and I'm ill again. But it's yeah, just coldy and throaty and yeah, like a tip. Yeah. Just yeah. So, but I had a little bit more energy yesterday, but again, I don't want to sort of overdo it and then put myself back again. So, yeah, just trying to sort of go with the flow with how I feel. But yeah, really happy this morning. You know, it always gives you a boost when the sun's out, doesn't it? And actually, I let me just play, because I was when I got home, I was in the garden, and I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. I'll try. Can you hear that?
I heard a little bird at the beginning and then nothing.
I tell you what,
Oh, I heard that.
let me just put the original sound on, because I reckon you'll hear it then. Right, let's try again. And I mean, if that doesn't make you feel good. And I just told Kim a little something actually, and she said to share it with you today. So I was at the school gate and I'd said goodbye to my boys and given them a big hug, and was watching them going in, and I just had a bit of a moment of, like, you know, divine consciousness, where I could just see everyone around me hugging their kids and just feeling the love of everyone. You know, every single parent and child there, and saying goodbye to their parents, and just that pure love, unconditional love. And it was just really lovely. I just had a bit of a moment, and then I just felt yeah, just really happy. And
You said it reminded you of Love Actually, didn't you?
yeah, it was like the airport scene in Love Actually. It just reminded me of that. And it's I just wish that that love that we share with our family, just wish we could all, if everyone had that and could spread it around the world, it would just be a, you know, happier place. But I know that's a very simplistic view, and I know some people don't have that love, you know. So feeling very lucky that you know, that we do have that. And yeah, but it was just a lovely moment. So yeah, share it with you.
I think with the state of the world at the moment, and the awful things that are happening, you can sometimes feel guilty for having such a decent life, but actually it's really important that you keep sharing that love, isn't it? And just doing what you can to, I don't know, the world needs the love more than ever, doesn't it, right now?
Absolutely. And it's about doing what you can from your little corner of the globe, and even if it's like just spreading that love into your communities, and hopefully, you know, the more people that do that, the more that it will expand. And but yeah, it's yeah, as you say, you do what you can, do what you can from your capacity, can't you? Yeah. So today's podcast is about, I'm going to hand it over to Kim now to say what we're talking about today.
Okay. Just before though, I listened back to last week's one and I realised I do something really annoying, which I find really annoying in other people. And
What's
I didn't
that?
know. I'm not going to say it, because then if anyone's listening, they'll hear it when I do it. But I was like, oh no, I do that thing that I find really irritating. So I'm going to try and be aware of that today. I'll tell you after.
Do I do it?
I haven't noticed that you do it.
We notice our own things more, don't we? We're
Yeah.
self-critical, aren't we? So
And
yeah.
it might not even be an annoying thing. It's just one of those things that I hear all the time. I don't think I've done it yet, but who knows? So yeah, we're talking today about self-esteem and how I guess how growing up undiagnosed and not really understanding certain things about ourselves has led to very low self-esteem, low confidence, which then manifests like into anxiety and depression. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience at primary school, and thinking a little bit about how ADHD is in with for girls, you know, primary age and then going into secondary, because still a lot of people don't really recognize ADHD in girls and women, but it's just because the knowledge hasn't been shared yet, I think. Would you agree?
Definitely.
So when I was little, we were put into dancing like very young age. So I was on the stage at like, I think I was on the stage at 2 years old, singing on like doing solo songs, performing. And I was quite loud as a child. So when I got to primary, I suppose as I started moving up through the school, I was very cute, wasn't I, Nic, when I was
Oh,
little?
so cute. I mean, literally, she was just adorable. And we're talking about dancing. They did the Care Bears, and she was the little pink Care Bear at the end. Oh, so cute, so cute. Little blonde ringlets, beautiful blue eyes, tiny, and just so cute and cheeky.
So I was encouraged to project my voice. I was encouraged to shine, and that's what I did. And then when I got to primary school and started moving up the years, that wasn't really working for the school system. So I was told every year, I was told that they used to say, how does so much noise come out of such a small person? All my reports would be that I talk too much, I'm disruptive. What else? Not reaching my potential, which I hate. I hate that, because says who? How does anyone else know what your potential is, you know? And if you're trying hard, you're trying your best, surely that is you are reaching your potential. But anyway, that's another story, isn't it?
Mm.
So yeah, year on year, I was just getting into like more and more trouble. I was always the person who was moved around the class to be able to sit away from people, but I would just chat to whoever was there. So it didn't really help to move me. And I guess the reason I talked so much was because I just couldn't hold my attention. And I didn't realize that at the time, obviously. I just couldn't hear what was being said, and I try and listen, but I was just gone all the time. Unless it was something that really interested me, like, I don't know, like a creative project about space, or where we were doing arts and crafts, that kind of thing. So yeah, you got getting sent out the class all the time, and that, I suppose, over a period of time, that starts to have an effect. It must be really annoying for teachers when kids don't shut up, but every time you're shouted at or your name's called out to be moved or to leave the classroom or go to the head teacher's office, you're kind of being shamed in front of your whole class every time. And the story I wanted to tell, there was lots of things in primary that I got into trouble for, but there was this one time, I think I was year 4. So that'd have been about 9, 8, 9.
Yeah.
And my friend brought some Tipp-Ex into school and she couldn't open it. So I was like, I'll do it. Because I always wanted to be that person who could do things, you know, I always wanted to help. And so I went in the toilet. Well, I went in the toilets with my friend and I was trying to open it. I was holding it under the hot tap. And that didn't work. So I thought, I know, I'll throw it on the floor and see if that loosens the lid, which is just a really stupid idea. I did it. I threw it on the floor and then it was a Tipp-Ex bomb. It exploded and it covered the whole toilets. There wasn't an inch of space where there wasn't Tipp-Ex. It was horrendous. And in that moment I was like, oh no, like what have I done? So I was saying to my friend, please don't tell anyone, even though I couldn't hide it. It was everywhere. She went out, she must have told someone, and then my teacher came in. I was like on the floor trying to scrub this Tipp-Ex, which it was just crazy. And I was like, I didn't mean to do it, you know, I was trying to loosen the lid. And then the nursery teacher came in. Obviously news was spreading around the school at this point. The nursery teacher came in, who I absolutely loved. Like, I looked up to her. I had such good memories of being in nursery, and she came in, you probably remember this, and she just looked around in horror and was like, it's vandalism, pure vandalism. And it just crushed me, because I like this person that I loved was looking at me in that way, and it was a total accident, but massive amounts of shame there. And then going up into secondary, nothing really changed. I still couldn't shut up. I was talking, I was messing around all the time. I was angry, I was sent out, I was on report, all of this stuff that I think now something might have been picked up because of the behavioural stuff. But at the time, I was just sent out of sight, out of mind, I guess. And I think I started to feel like I couldn't use my voice anymore. Obviously I used it with my friends and in class when I shouldn't have been using it, but I lost my confidence to talk to people, really. And I don't know, it's just quite sad. I was shamed. I feel now I was shamed through my whole school experience. And it wasn't until my last year of school that I think I got my first good report in year 11. And I remember mum came in. I think we went in together, and I just felt so proud. I wasn't happy. Like, by that point I was full of anxiety and I'd been quite depressed at various times. But I remember thinking, I got a good report. Like, I felt amazing for it. And I think that was down to maybe just like nice teachers that I happened to have in that year, or maybe I just got so fed up that, like I say, I lost my voice and I just wasn't maybe messing around anymore. But I think I didn't really come out of school with much at all. So yeah, that was my school experience. And it's not until now that I feel like I'm a star pupil. Like, when I went to and did massage, I I was like, oh, I'm actually really good at this. And my teacher was always telling me how good I was, because I was so focused on the work, and I loved it. And then the same when I did my yoga teach training, I was doing all these, like, they're not essays, but they're like mini essays, I guess. And I was doing all this research and writing, and I realized I can work like in that way. It just has to be something that's really interesting to me. And yeah, for the first time in my life, I felt intelligent and yeah, like I could do these things that I've always told myself I can't do. So that's just what I wanted to share.
Yeah, and you carry it with you, all of it, don't you? All of the guilt, the shame, and the criticism, and you take it with you into adult life, and you have to do a huge amount of work, don't you, to sort of heal from it, really, and to learn to love yourself again for who you are. And I've heard a lot, actually, that, you know, people with ADHD were often like, you know, the adventurers, the hunter-gatherers, the people that are high achieving in areas that suit the way they are, you know, and in an environment where that isn't, it's almost impossible, isn't it, sometimes, to flourish. Whereas if we were in an environment that was suited to the way we are, then we would soar, you know. So yeah, and you know, being in a classroom for 5 hours a day is very, very, very difficult for people with ADHD often. So yeah, well, I'll just tell you a little bit about my experiences, because they're very different to Kim, because I was the good girl. I hated getting into trouble, couldn't bear it, still don't really like it much now. Although if I don't agree with certain rules and think, why is that? Why are we being told to do that? It doesn't make any sense. Then the rebel in me is coming out a little bit more as I get older. But, you know, as a child, and mum was the same, wasn't she? Just absolutely can't bear getting in trouble. But also I do feel like I flourished at primary school, because I don't remember being too restricted in the classroom. I seem to remember, you know, you could get up and go and sharpen your pencil, or go, you know, and things like that. So maybe having that little bit of freedom was enough for me, just to get up, and then come back again. And it was, you know, we did a lot of sports. We were in and out of the classroom. We were doing fun stuff, fun learning things, and obviously not all the time. And I think probably with maths, I was sort of off on daydreaming a bit, because it just never interested me. And I do still struggle with maths quite a lot, actually. And I do wonder if I possibly have dyscalculia, but that's you know, that's neither here nor there at the moment. But anyway, so yeah, and you know, I love my friends, I love my teachers, I love playtime. So I feel like I did pretty well. And in fact, I think the only time that I got told off was for sliding down the banister one day. And because, I mean, we had the best banisters, didn't we? Shout out to Coville Primary School in Cherry-Lincoln. The best banisters, weren't they? Like, how could you not slide down those? And one of the dinner ladies got hold of me and took me to the headmaster's office, which was a complete overreaction for that. I'm sorry, especially, you know. But anyway, so yeah, she marched me and my friend, who ran down the stairs next to me, to the headmaster's office, and sat me outside, which is where all the kids who had been in trouble had to sit, all outside. And so you'd have about at least half a dozen kids, all from the headmaster's office, all sat around the side. And I had to sit there, and I was devastated. I was sobbing more than I've ever sobbed before in my life. And I just couldn't believe, you know. And then the amazing Mrs. Hines, who was the head teacher's wife, who was just the loveliest person in the world, and she was a supply teacher. She used to come and help out where she was needed. She walked past me. And do you know, actually, before that, I will just say that almost every teacher that walked by on the end of their lunch break said, "Oh, same old faces. Oh, Nicola, what are you doing here?" And literally, and I look back on that and I think, those poor kids, the same old faces, they were probably the kids with ADHD and other you know, things going on. And
That's my children now.
yeah, sat outside the head's office every day and the teachers going by, same old faces. So that's what they had to deal with, you know, to take into adult life. And that is really sad. But anyway, yeah, same old faces. Nicola, what are you doing here? And then my saviour, Mrs. Hines, came and saw how devastated I was. And she picked me up, cuddled me, took me to the toilets. I remember looking in the mirror and thinking I looked like an alien because I'd cried so much. I just was unrecognisable. But again, it's a topic for another day, but it's RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria. And that comes into that, I think, that complete devastation of doing the wrong thing and then have people thinking badly of me. And that's something that's been huge in my life, absolutely huge. So we'll definitely talk about that. But anyway, so yeah, sailed through primary, didn't really have too many troubles. Did pretty well. Funnily enough, my first week at secondary school, I got a detention, would you believe it? But it was because we were talking in our form and we all got sent out, and we had to, because we were talking so much, and we had to line up outside the class. And then a couple of us were talking, so we got detentions. And again, I think I was probably devastated about that at the time. But anyway, but it was then at secondary school where things did start going a little bit wrong. And I think going from that lovely little environment at primary school where I flourished to suddenly being in this huge secondary school, like a small fish in a big pond. And I think just gradually over the years, I then started losing my confidence and going in on myself a bit more. And to cut a long story short, I did well at GCSE, but again, it was I found a lot of the subjects quite interesting, really, but then it was when I went to sixth form, and that is when it all fell apart. And I went from I got an A at history at GCSE, absolutely loved it, wanted to go on and do history at university. And I'd been doing, what did we do? I can't even remember. It would have been like medieval Tudors, loads of really interesting stuff. Had one of the best history teachers ever. Shout out to Mr. Kinlock. What a legend. You could listen to him for hours. He was just amazing and fascinating and just brilliant. And but then, I went on from doing this really interesting stuff, and suddenly it got real. And I was doing foreign policy. Oh my goodness, foreign policy, really, for me? Yeah. And geography and English, much the same. I wasn't interested in any of it. And I literally went into cloud cuckoo land. I just daydreamed through sixth form, probably hyper focusing on my social life and my friendships and going out, and I just didn't comprehend the amount of work that had to go into A levels to scrape by, let alone do well. And even though people told me, I got pulled into the sixth form head's office 2 or 3 times, and to say, look, if you don't start putting the work in, you're not going to pass these exams. And it just fell on deaf ears. I just couldn't comprehend it, really. And then, sure enough, then I got my results, 2 E's and an N. And
What? An N?
Nearly. What's a nearly? Come on, just fail me, and that was for history. So I got an A at GCSE for history and then a nearly at A level. And it just wasn't the right environment for me, and if ADHD had been understood and recognised then, then I perhaps could have received the support I needed. Perhaps they weren't the right subjects for me. I always loved RE, but I was told it probably wasn't the best subject to do. Again, you get all this advice that really isn't probably the best advice for you. Now we know our personalities, and the way our minds work. And so I think if I'd have had the support, then maybe it would have been an environment that I could have done well in. But and the devastation after, I think Mum said I didn't come out of my room for days because I was just devastated. and embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. And the thing is as well, where, you know, I was then told that I was getting the message that I was lazy, and this didn't really make any sense to me because I've never been a lazy person. We did every club under the sun, didn't we, Kim? I was doing cross country in the morning. We were going to school. We had clubs every night. We were dancing. We were musicians. We just guiding, you know, the lot. We did everything. And I did a paper round every morning, Monday to Sunday. Every morning I was up at 5 out doing my paper round. I was not a lazy person. And then I was getting this message that I was lazy. And then also oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I've just seen my notes about something actually. Going back to the history at A level, one of the teachers used to ask everyone, kind of taking it in turns, to ask, what do you think, Kimberly? You know, and then he'd put the and I'd literally, it was all, and I'd be so Nicola, don't know, and it was just like a running joke. Like every time he came, Nicola, don't know, Nicola, hold on, don't know, and it like at the time I actually wasn't bothered about it, but like now not now, but then afterwards. I
was the same, by the way. I
Yeah,
could never answer a question.
yeah,
With me, how people could. I didn't understand how they could answer
yeah,
questions.
yeah.
Don't know. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, not at all. And the funny thing, like some of my best friends were like just the brightest kids. Like they were A-star pupils and photographic memories, and you know. And I was like, they're like, "What'd you get? A-star? What'd you get? Oh, 2 E's and a nearly." Yeah, but so these things, you know, that like humiliation really of it in the class didn't bother me at the time, but it's later in life when it really affected me, and this fear of not knowing enough, and losing focus at times and missing bits of information, and also the memory. You know, I can learn something half a dozen times, and then if someone then asks me a couple of months later, it's gone. And you know, and again in nursing, it used to cause me a lot of anxiety. And you know, I was a good nurse. I was, you know, I was a good nurse, and but this fear, and I would go home and I'd be reading up on things like, oh my god, how are you? And I always coped fine, you know, in situations, but it was the fear that went, and the anxiety that went along with it. And I think sort of later on in life, I probably developed generalized anxiety disorder. I never had a diagnosis for that, but I think that was, you know, that just this sort of the fear of not knowing, and also the worry of being asked something and humiliated. And any group session, I would just literally clam up. If I was with more than 2 people, I would clam up and literally go mute, because I couldn't. It was this deep-rooted fear of saying the wrong thing and of looking stupid, looking incompetent, and it went into every area of my life, in social occasions, and I probably didn't even know what it was at the time. And I would, you know, any group session, I would slink at the back and pray that no one would ask me a question. And the group sessions when people used to go around, and oh my goodness, like I'd be in fight or flight, you know. And so yeah, and I yeah, it's all these things that sort of from childhood that we take into adult life. And it's only, I mean, to think that we are doing a podcast now, a few years ago I would have said not in a million years, because I just couldn't talk. And really, it's only now, knowing the reasons for all these things and understanding it and accepting it, I now feel that I can just be myself now, and I can speak up in a group, And I know that if someone asks me something I don't know, I can just say, do you know what? I learnt that, but I've forgotten it, or when you ask me a question and put me on the spot, my mind goes blank. Or can you come back to me in a minute, please? Or I've got ADHD, and sometimes I get you know, and I feel like now I know the reason. I can explain that to people if I need to, and then that in itself gives you confidence, and then your fight or flight response settles down, and then you can then, when you're in a calmer response, things come easier anyway, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
do.
just go on.
Sorry. No, I was gonna say I do the same. Like when I meet new people, I often go mute, and it's because I find small talk very difficult. I can't do small talk. I could meet someone for the first time and share like my deepest, darkest secrets. I would tell anyone anything, but I can't do small talk. So I met my friend's boyfriend the other day for the first time, and I was like, oh no, and I could feel it happening. Like it's just like all information leaves my body. So I just said that I'm really sorry. I go quite mute when I meet new people, but like my friend knows that now, and I think he said that he's like similar anyway, so I was like, okay, cool. Because the thing is, like, what happens is in my head I'm like, okay, think of something to say, and then I think of something and I think, no, that's not appropriate, like I don't know, I'll think of questions that are not small talk questions. They're too much, they're too big, but then too much time goes in my head, and then I realize I've been sitting there for like minutes just without saying anything because I'm trying to find a question to ask, and they all seem wrong. But yeah, I'm much happier to just say to people the truth. Like, I'm sorry, I can't think of anything to say. I'm really bad with
And
small talk.
do you know also what? You know, we don't have to do small talk. Why can't we ask the bigger questions? I was
I don't
walking with
think you can
someone.
go straight in though with a big question, can you? There has to be some kind of,
Some build up, yeah.
yeah.
But like, yeah, the other day I was walking with someone on the way home from school, and I was like, so they were having some time off. I was like, oh, so what would you do in your time off? What's the thing that you absolutely love the most, and what would you do? And then they went on to say, you know, that about what they would, and that to me is really interesting, more than, oh, you know, you know, really talking to finding something interesting about someone, and yeah, so I think it's, we just want, what we need to be okay now, don't we? That we don't have to do all the same small. Let's make it interesting and mix it up a bit and have it and talk about, yeah. But like you say, you don't want to like freak someone out by saying something big
Yeah.
when you've just met them. But
My
yeah,
friend was joking about like, what's your favorite color? Like, you just can't meet like a grown adult for the first time and be like, hi, what's your favorite color?
oh my goodness, why can't we? I love that.
I mean, yeah, you could. Yeah, you could.
Wow. Do you know what? It's always good to have a few tricks up your sleeve, isn't it? Like maybe have a few questions up your sleeve that when you are with someone that you're not, maybe think about a few like questions that you could ask them. And do
Yeah,
you know what? I absolutely love that. Literally next person I see on the school run, I'm going to ask what their favourite colour is. What's your favourite colour?
it's also because I sometimes what I think is appropriate to ask someone is not generally appropriate to others. So I have to think in my head, is that too personal if I ask this, if that is that not. So there's always this dialogue going on about like analyzing my thoughts. And
But maybe they are the barriers that we need to break down now, you know, that about maybe in the long run,
just insult people.
making people try not to insult them, but just that it just accepting that people might not have the conversation that you expect them to have, and just just accept everyone as they are and embrace it and go with it, and you might find that actually you might really enjoy the conversation and find out some really interesting things about each other.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Dad and like
I
how
know,
many
it's like,
times
yeah.
through life Dad said something and I've wanted the ground to swallow me up because it's just like so inappropriate.
And he's the first to say, like, just says the wrong thing. He just can't help it.
He's a lot better now. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
over the years.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, but even
He
things he used to say when we were young, I won't go into it. Wouldn't want to embarrass him, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Talking about him, but things he'd say, and growing up, like I didn't realize how insulting they were. Some of the things.
He should come with a
and
disclaimer.
and sometimes I'll think things in my head, which are from him, like, and it's more an observation, like an observation of how
Yeah.
someone looks at something, but it's personal and rude. But I think I do it in my own head now, and it's not because I'm judging that person, it's just an instant observation, perhaps
Yeah.
about a big bottom, I don't know. Nothing with big bottoms either.
Big bottoms are great.
Love a big bottom.
I mean, people pay a lot of money to have big bottoms these days.
They do.
I've always had a sizable bottom.
Do you know what? I've got quite a sizable bottom, which is getting bigger with age, and I'm quite liking it.
Good for twerking and other things.
We've gone off.
We've gone down
What's the subject?
gone down a bottom. I was going to say something really inappropriate then, like
Oh, you should say
completely
it.
by accident.
What?
Well, I was going to say a rabbit hole, but a bottom.
Bottom hole. Our
Anyway,
children like to talk about bottom holes a lot, don't they?
they do, yes, or bottle holes, as one of mine calls them. But anyway,
Or one of mine calls them assholes.
oh, okay, we'll have to put a warning on this episode.
This is an adult podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think you still have to put it if it's
Oh, ass is okay.
ass is okay. Okay, ass is okay. Anywho, so yeah, really, it's all about learning about our conditions, accepting self-acceptance, learning to embrace our unique gifts and talents, learning to ask for support in the areas that we need it, and spreading the word, really, so that we can have these conversations with people, and so that we can ask people what their favorite color is, yeah,
and well, unlearning all of the things you told yourself that you were growing up and into adulthood, all of the things that have kept you small, and realizing that it's not real, it's not who you are. You can just be your fullest expression,
and so you can forgive yourself and other people for not having that knowledge. When we were at school, people didn't have this knowledge. And especially with girls as well, that the symptoms being so different with girls with ADHD, and people still not recognizing it now, really. And so, yeah, so it's just about forgiving yourself, or not even forgiving yourself, because there's nothing to forgive, but just understanding, forgiving those that didn't understand and didn't know. They didn't have the knowledge, they didn't know. And yeah, mine's just gone blank. Can't remember what I was going to say. Can you chip in?
Just that, even though if you have had a tough experience growing up, I think it gives you more of an understanding for the next generation. And because my children are the way they are, I have got so much understanding for the kids that you would just call naughty kids, or the kids who are angry, who show aggression. Yeah, I just feel so much compassion for those children, whereas before, even before I had children, I'd have looked at those children and been like, oh God, their parents need to sort them out, sort of thing. And which is really simple and silly way to think, but if you haven't been through an experience with children who are not only neurodiverse, but children who have been through trauma and have stuff going on at home. Like, there's always a reason why someone is presenting, in the way that they are.
And also, the difficulties that we have, like you were saying, for some people, they manifest in you shrinking within yourself and going quiet. Whereas for others, like you just said, Kim, it comes out in anger. And so the kids that and the people that go quiet just go unnoticed.
Yeah.
And then the people with the anger that comes out get in trouble. And then
And judged.
It's just the way, it's just almost like your primary emotion, isn't it, that however that comes out, so yeah, I am finding it, because I'm a little bit under the weather, I'm finding it a little bit more challenging today to get my words.
That's fine. I don't think you've,
but yeah, bit foggy, bit foggy. Yeah, so shall we you've got something lovely to read?
Just going to finish with a book recommendation, which my beautiful sister-in-law got me for my birthday this year, and it's called The Almanac, and it's a seasonal guide to 2024. And it's so interesting. It has got it's got the moon cycles, it's got the tides, the times of the tides, it's got little folk songs, it's gardening, seasonal gardening, and how you can garden with the moon cycle. It's so interesting. Who's it by? Leah Leenders. I should have practiced that before I said it. Leah
Show me.
Leenders.
Leah Lindertz.
If you search The Almanac.
What a beautiful looking book as well. Love the cover.
It's gorgeous. It's got a little bookmark in it as well, which I love. And it just opened it up on like around today's date, and it had a bit about making space for February. Shall I just read a little bit? Okay. So there may be little change in the nature table this month. So that's another thing she says you can do, is make a little table, a nature table, and it will change with the seasons, which we actually used to do, didn't we, with Mum? But try to include some signs of the earth turning and the new bulb starting to shoot. If you're lucky, you may have the first snowdrops out now. It's supposedly unlucky to bring them indoors on any day except Candlemas, which is the 2nd of Feb. But you can at least keep a few, bring a few in then. Anyway, it says that your table, your seasonal table for this month might include white candles for St. Bridget and Candlemas, St. Bridget's cross made of reeds for St. Bridget's Day. I believe, Nicola, you made one of those. Snowdrops, a little vase of winter honeysuckle, feathers, and pebbles. And it says it's still dark enough in the mornings to light a candle, but it won't be so for long. Try to enjoy these dark and cozy moments in the year before they have passed, rather than wishing them away too fast. St. Bridget is the patron saint of many things, including craft and poetry. So you might include a little piece of something you have made yourself, such as some embroidery or crochet or even a poem. So that was that. But yeah, I would really recommend this book.
This is St. Bridget's cross. You're supposed to do it with reeds, and I could only do it what I have had in my garden, so it's gone a bit flaccid. Sorry about that. But anyway, it's still lovely, and you're supposed to put it by your front door, and then Bridget's supposed to
if you're only listening to this,
yeah.
Nicola's showing us her St. Bridget's cross. It's gone a little bit floppy.
But yeah, you hang it by your door for protection. Anyway, just a nice little thing, isn't it? That's lovely, Kim. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I share a couple of little quotes as well before we go?
No.
As we're talking about self-esteem and building ourselves up now, so there's a lovely quote from Rebecca Campbell. Follow what lights you up and you'll light up the world, Rebecca Campbell. So it's just about, you know, doing what we love and embracing our unique gifts and talents and sharing those with the world, because we're all amazing. We've all got those wonderful gifts and talents. It's just finding out what they are, and usually it's the things that you love doing as well. And also one from Maya Angelou, that if you are always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. And isn't that true? So there we go. So yeah. So thank you, everybody. Lovely to share this time with you. Kimberly, love you loads.
Love you loads.
Happy birthday month. And can't wait to see you soon. And before you go, I'll just show you, I was oh, this is Kim, by the way. This beautiful picture here. This is Kimberly doing a yoga. And I've been sitting today snuggled in my blanket that Kim got me with us on it. Look, how lovely is that? My sister. So there we go. Sorry for the podcasters that but it was a lovely blanket of me and Kim. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, and really look forward to seeing spending the time with you next time on ADHD, my sister and me. Actually, we're going to call it ADHD, my sister, her dog and me, weren't we? But where's Rocky? He was
coming.
There he is. There he is. Because Rocky likes to be a part of it too. So there we go. So for the podcasters, there's just a gorgeous little cockapoo, black cockapoo with the cutest little white beard.
My emotional support dog.
It's just blooming gorgeous.
Got me through a lot.
Yeah. So lots of love, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.